right?
Yeah.
Like it's such a gross misconception.
Yeah,
but
very stereotype.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go.
No, I just remember seeing a meme that was like, being vegan, you're like, people think you're super, super healthy and like anemic at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is like, they're like, oh, you're vegan, so you should be like really, really healthy. Oh, but you're also dying because you don't get all the nutrients you need. And it's just like, well, how can we be both?
Yeah.
Like, we're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there is unhealthy ways to do vegan, but there's unhealthy
100%.
ways to do any kind of diet.
Well, I think
Yeah.
a lot of people look at my diet, or like our diets as extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I'm like I feel like, because people will be like, oh, like, what do you eat? Like, being vegan is so boring. Like, you have so many limitations. But I almost found going vegan made me realize how limited a conventional diet of like meat and bread really is.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like,
that's what we learned how to
I have
cook.
such colorful bowls and like meals all the time, and like they're so like bright and beautiful and like make me feel so good. And like I don't feel like shit after I eat it.
Yes.
And it's very, I don't know, it just really speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the meat, like, there's only so many ways you can cook a chicken breast. I think, like, if people actually looked at their food, they'd be like, oh, the variety is actually in my side dishes, which are mostly plant-based, right? So I think people just have this really weird misconception. Like, once you start down the path, it's like, oh my gosh, there's actually so much that I can eat. And I love doing that with people. Like, I heard one vegan activist quoted as saying, and I totally forget the name, so I'm not going to even try, but they said that if you want to convert people to veganism, you should make it like a party. And I love to cook, so I'm always just like, oh, let me cook you a meal. Let me cook you a vegan meal. You can taste how good it is. Yeah. And most people are shocked. Like, they're like, we would have not guessed at all that this was a vegan dish if you hadn't told us. And I love taking like traditional meals, like lasagna for like my Italian friends, and like I made a vegan mince and tatties because I'm Scottish. So I made a vegan mince and tatties for Thanksgiving.
What the hell
and
is that?
People were blown away. It's
and I'm
Scottish too, and I'm like, fuck, what is it? No. You've never got made mince and tatties? No. It's just mashed potatoes with like a meat gravy essentially.
I've had that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah. So like traditionally, be like ground beef with mince. Your mince meat, your ground beef.
In the gravy over the potatoes.
Normally,
Had that lots of times.
onions, carrots, whatever. But made it with like veganized, and people were like, I would not have guessed.
Hell yeah, I want to make that. I totally
forgot
about that dish.
Oh, it's like my comfort food. Like winter hits, and I'm like mince and Yeah. So I think that's a great way to kind of educate people, is like make it fun for them and make them aware of that.
Yeah, that's what made us start this podcast. Is a few of us got together and had a potluck, a vegan potluck, and we talked for 5 hours and thought, hey, why don't we
should record ourselves?
Let's share our conversations, because it's not just about veganism. It's just about having a community of women and sisters that support you, and I think I speak for all of us, and tell me if I'm wrong, but we all like the deep conversations and connections with each other, and that's why you and I hit it off and hung out so much. We would get together, and I was loving. You're like, thank you for the soul exfoliation.
Well, I feel like as somebody with like deep thoughts and like, I don't know, like you almost like look at like everyone else and you're like, I feel like you get a real sense of loneliness. Like, I don't know if everyone else is like that, but like when you don't have like many people who like want to have deep conversations, not just veganism, like spirituality and like all the things we've talked about and are gonna eventually like address in the podcast, like you feel so alone when like you like look around and nobody has like the same views as you, and then it can be kind of hard to like find people like that too.
Totally.
I hope this podcast like will make people feel less lonely. So, you know.
And like maybe give them like a sense that like, oh, there's other people out there that like if I search for them, if I put myself out there a little bit, like I don't have to be, you don't have to be like the weirdo in your friend group who's like, I know for me my friends are always like, it's my food, but like I went also vegan for the environmental reasons. It was like animals first, and then a short second was the planet. And it's like, you know, I'm the weirdo with like the beeswax food wraps and like only glass containers in my house, and like I won't take things home if it like, so it's all those things. But if you actually start talking about it and putting yourself out there, you're going to like have this where like you're at a party and someone overhears you and is like, oh my gosh, like you eat this way too, or like you use beeswax, where'd you get yours? Like
I'm like a big big believer in manifestation, and I totally think I manifested this for myself, like, and as well as like everyone else probably. Because like the more you want something, and the more like you just gotta like let yourself have it, and like it comes. Like the universe will give you what you truly need.
It does have a path for you, and it'll take you where you need to go.
I just gotta ask for it and be ready. Like kind of let it know. Like I'm ready for like what's next.
Put in the work and do the little steps to get you there.
Well, I think that's the big one. A lot of people are just like, hey, universe.
Like, I want to change nothing except what's around me.
Can you show me some girlfriends? Like, I would love some new friends, but I'm going to sit at home all day and not put myself out there. Like, you kind of have to show for your half, right? Like, you have to, like...
Definitely. Good disclaimer.
You can't just be like, hey, run with some soul sisters.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like that happened pretty easy for me. I didn't go out anywhere. You guys on this catering. I didn't do any work.
You came from Kelowna. You did plenty of work.
You drove.
That's funny.
But I think that's the thing. It doesn't have to be hard work. Like I showed up to a dance class and then just like had a conversation. So like the hardest part was just being willing to put myself out there to go to a new experience of dance. And then met this beautiful creature. Like, so it doesn't have to be like this challenging thing where you're like, hey, want to be my friend? Hey, want to be my friend?
But I literally ask people, do you want to be my friend?
That's amazing. That's so amazing.
I think it's important to like let yourself believe that you're worth having those kind of connections and those experiences.
That's a very good point. I think
like self-worth is like really important personally. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, it's big in making those connections because if you're not vulnerable and open, you're gonna stay on that level of superficiality that a lot of conversations and relationships really do rely on. So it takes a lot of internal work and effort to be able to get past that.
Be willing to go deep as well. If you're going to expect that deep conversation, that deep connection, you have to be willing to go there.
You gotta be able to talk with yourself.
Well, to feel that whole emotional palette, not just the pretty one.
Down to the uglies.
Like at work, I take X-rays and I deal with people all day long, but it's just so superficial and it gets so exhausting. Like,
oh really?
It's just there's the few people that well, I don't have time to have like conversations with people. We literally have 5 minutes for an appointment, so it's can't really get much.
That's
so
fair.
fast-paced that you don't really have much time to connect with people. Sometimes when I do like bone density, it's like 15 minutes appointments. Like, people will actually talk to me more, which is really cool. I actually went to a ladies yoga class once after meeting her, doing her bone density scans. It was really cool. But just talking with people all day long for superficial stuff is so exhausting. Like, hey, is it still raining outside? All day long.
That kind of conversation really drains me because I work in customer service too.
You do.
And like, it's kind of nice because I work in produce, not on the till, so like I'm kind of in a corner and like the people kind of come to me that I want to come to me and like we have really good talks, but sometimes it can be really, really draining. Like at the end of the day, like I get home and I'm like, I just need to like sit in a corner by myself for like half an hour, recharge, realign.
I feel that.
Well, I definitely like identify as being very introverted. Like I'm kind of like the extroverted introvert. Like put me in a room with people that I know and I'll be lively and interact, but like totally a wallflower at a big party. And I like need my alone time to recharge. But as a coach, like all day, every day, it's just like, hey, how's it going? What's up with you? And it's not like some of them are superficial, which is kind of. I was having this conversation with another coach of mine where like coaching is almost the ideal job for an introvert as long as you can get over that hump of putting yourself out there because you can pretend to have all of these deep connections because your clients are divulging a lot of stuff to you, right? Once they get comfortable, they start talking to you because food's never just about food and it's never just about wanting to lose weight. Like there's always like a deep emotional reason for why they're there. So you can start forming these big connections, but you can almost trick yourself into believing that you're having all of these like really intimate relationships in your life, but really it's all one-sided. It's all just like your clients talking to you.
Oh yeah, because they don't really know much about you.
Exactly, which is why it's almost perfect for the introvert because you get to keep your wall up while everyone else like shares, and you can kind of trick yourself, right? So
I feel that. And I'm not even a coach. I'm like, that's just my life. For some reason, everyone tells me things. And people just open up to me. then I just listen to them, and then that's how I like it. I usually keep asking people the questions, so I don't have to say anything.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the same way, and actually, interestingly, I've gone through a very up and down, like, personal year this year, and I had to learn to open up to my friends and ask for help from my friends, and I had one of my closest friends in the world was just like, you felt like this all the time with us, because I would do the same thing. I'd like give my shirt off my back to them and ask them about their lives and like interact and be on their level, but wouldn't share too deeply of myself. And she's like, all of a sudden, like, this year just like cracked you wide open. Beautiful. And suddenly you're able to do this. Like, I would never have sat down in a group of like 5 women before, like, who don't know me, and share the kind of stuff that I've shared, or like with you guys. Like, I jam on like veganism all day long, or like the superficial elements of these conversations, but like to get deep and be like, hey, this is what like I've experienced, like, never. So and that's probably why I met you guys like when I did, right? Because I was like, okay, now we're ready to like actually deep dive and do this thing.
And that's a special thing, because I also went through a bit of a crisis this year too, and I really needed some support, and I had to do some reaching out, and that was uncomfortable, and I didn't like that at all. But I learned a lot, because when I started actually reaching out and asking for that support, I was actually quite shocked about how I got it. And how, you know, like, my friends actually did show up for me and offered me a whole lot. So it was, you know, quite a good experience, in, like, for lack of a better term. Because it can really build that community.
It can. And I had a friend who was like, Allie, you would do all of this stuff for us, like, any day of the week. So A, why do you think that we don't, like, why do you think you're not deserving of it? Why do you think we wouldn't want to do the same for you? And she pointed out that, like, you're not letting us show up as the kind of friends that we want to be. Like, I was actually taking something away from them by not, like, allowing myself to be vulnerable. And it, like, blew my mind. I was like, you're so right. Like, it's a two-way. Because everyone feels good when they give, right? Totally. So let your friends give. Like,
Yeah, it took me a while with like friends, because I'll always, okay, get them coffee or like treat them to lunch, and then friends were doing that back to me, and I was like, but why? Why are you spending money on me? And I'm like, oh no, wait, like, people also like to give back and like give to you, and I'm like, okay, so I just have to receive.
It goes back to the whole thing about like you need to know that you deserve to be able to be given too, like emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of it. Like,
I think it's just kind of a female trait to just be like, to be givers and not, like, it's something that I think women really need to learn how to do, to receive. Like, it's not natural for us to just receive.
I feel like that is very, if we're thinking about masculine and feminine energy, masculine is very much so like that, which is like action, you know, not so much aggressor, but, you know, like do stuff like that. Whereas the feminine energy, like the earth is feminine, and it is a giver, and it will just continue to give and provide, and that's exactly what women innately do all the time. So it's funny this year too, when you guys are saying that it's been like a transformational year. I've kind of gone back and forth with the idea of balancing like my feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's very hard for me to also be like, yes, I am worthy, I will receive. So like taking on that masculine energy, but still doing this dance.
With balance. I totally agree.
And I don't think it's ever balanced. I think you're just gonna like you said, it's a dance. It's this flow back and forth, right? I just think that's such a misconception that like balance in any form, that people are like expecting that it's gonna be like this perfect. I was like, no, we're flowing.
You go through like dark periods of your life for reasons, for like growth, and then, you know, like it's good for a while, but then eventually, like the universe, God, whatever you would like to believe in, will eventually push you into a catalyst for another dark period, so that you can continue to grow and learn about yourself.
It's just ebbs and flows of pain and joy.
Totally.
That is life.
Well, that's right. That's leveling up.
Yeah,
you know, you're going
100%.
If you don't learn